circle this way and that way, and made some virtual rotations in the direction of the 6th dimension, except 6.7 dimension. And when Sun noticed that no one paid attention to that imperceptible move, he whistled to Jupiter, who was trying to arbitrate between the objections of his gaseous atoms, and, of course, most of the time, quite fairly and peacefully yielded to hydrogen atoms, was quite upset that the Sun had distracted him with a meaningless whistle. Jupiter turned his face. Hydrogen atom continued in the interatomic court of Jupiter. I am very unfortunate and oppressed. Always correctly, I am attached to another hydrogen atom. So what happens to freedom, the right of speech, independence? There is no reason that because I was born this way, I must always be attached to another atom. The helium atom grinned, shook its electrons, and said in a sharp tone, "So you want it to be a single atom? Do you think you have the right to do so?" Hydrogen, as if all his ancestors had been cursed, jumped toward the helium atom and stood at a distance of 1 electron, stared at helium neutrons and said, "Maybe I want it to be 3 atomic, or 4 atomic, or 1,000 atomic. It's actually none of your business. You should think about your incompetence." Helium atom, blushing with embarrassment, shook his head as a sign of pity and gave a 472 light-hour speech about the necessity of ethics and respect for elders and the loss of prestige and value of proton in the society, and finally announced hydrogen as the shame of real and virtual and semi-virtual elements federation. Helium attributed the virtue of the atom not to its number, but to the strengthening neutrons. At the end, he stuck out his tongue and said, "I am sulking. A shameless 1 electron, 1 proton, neutronless is not worthy to talk to a weighty element like me," then escaped some light years away. Hydrogen, who took advantage of helium's situation and performed a part of Hamlet's play, to be or not to be, that is the question. All members of the court were through nuclear fusion, from crying and mourning. Everyone justified hydrogen. Helium, who was watching the scene from a distance, lost 1 of his electrons, and along with that, a great grief and pain come out of his body. You can see this situation of helium detaching his electron only once in your entire life. Helium's financial and economic dependence on his electrons is a warningly proverb for all members of the All Galaxy. It was a painful scene that I could not watch. I said to Phaphil, "It is useless. I can't watch this scene. Come, walk at my feet and block the virtual channel of all 61 of my senses until this tragedy ends." Phaphil said, "No, for quantum's sake, it is just getting interesting. It's gonna take the shit out of helium." I cried and begged, "For first and last quark's sake, don't let me see this scene." But he ignored me and extended his single antenna until reached Jupiter so that he could watch the drama better. I crumpled my head in my body. That huge disaster was panicking me. For a few minutes, I felt that I could no longer continue this life. Jupiter, who wasn't ever bothered with this incident and advocated hydrogen biasly even more, sentenced the whole planet that all heliums must be decreased to hydrogen through fission. I asked Phaphil to help Helium. Helium was already humiliated enough, but Phaphil didn't give a shit. I looked at the Sun. He was moving his dark spots and arranging them according to the less feng shui trend from the always motivated single electron quark companies that are non-randomly and deliberately spread in space. I told Sun, "You're hot. Will you help me go down?" He turned his face coyly and said, "I receive iron instead." I said, "Where can I get iron?" Come on, eat all of these useless internet satellites." He said, "No, I want pure atoms. I don't want this garbage. I want those freshly produced atoms in the middle of massive stars of the Sox galaxy. I've heard that they make the newest and highest quality iron atoms." I said, "How do you need them?" His dark spots slightly crumpled, and he carefully turned his face toward Venus and coughed a little. Venus woke up, but she didn't matter to anyone. son told me. "You don't understand the dreams of a young star. You don't know how I feel when I see those blue stars." I laughed and said, "Look, you can't get that with only few hydrogen atoms." At the same time,